Welcome to the ADF Insider Essentials series, which demonstrates essential skills, tips and techniques that you will require for building ADF applications. In this demonstration you'll see how you can programmatically define partial page refreshing. My name is Grant Ronald and I'm part of the Oracle Development Tools product management team. So what's partial page refreshing? This is the ability for your ADF Faces page to be updated without having to submit the whole page and without having to refresh the whole page. So in a simple example, we could have, whenever a new value is put into salary, we want to automatically submit that value into our business service, and that's using the auto submit feature. And we also have the ability to automatically refresh. So on submitting a new salary, we want to automatically update total salary or automatically refresh it on the page, and that's done using a feature called partial triggers in ADF Faces. Now this gives us a declarative way of defining partial page refreshing, but there might be situations when you want to programmatically force a partial page refresh. So why do you want to programmatically define PPR? Well, first of all, it gives you the flexibility to define whenever you want refreshes to happen. You can do this in code. And there are also some times when the framework doesn't automatically refresh, and so you might want to force PPR to happen. So how do we do this? Well, in pseudocode we do the following. Within your view controller project, you want to get a handle to the ADF Faces context. This is the information about the current page. You want to be able to have access to the UI component instance, which needs to be refreshed, and then you want to make that component the target for a PPR operation. So in a little bit more detail, we have something called ADF Faces context, which is an object, and in that we have a method getCurrentInstance, and that returns the instance for the current page, the ADF Faces context. We will also generate a method that allows us to get a handle to a component on a page, and then we're going to call ADF Faces context.addPartialTarget to add that component as being a target for PPR. So let's have a look at this in a demonstration. Okay, here's a simple example when they have the employees table, and I press the edit button, we bring up a pop-up dialog using a task flow, and we're using declarative PPR here so that when salaries change, total salary will automatically reflect the change. So that's using declarative PPR. But when we submit that page, it hasn't changed the value here in the table. So we're going to programmatically ensure that that table has the PPR set. And the way we do this is we'll go on to the Edit Emp button, and we're going to add some code to the Edit Emp button that will execute and refresh the table whenever that button's pressed. So the property we want to look for here is a listener called returnListener, which will fire whenever the result of pressing that button has finished. And we're going to create a managed bean, and let's just give it a name, myBean, and the class name, myClass. And there's the bean created, and we'll also create a method. So the name of the method will be called, and let's call it refreshTable. So there you can see that's the code that will be called as a result of pressing that button, or when the result of that button finishes. The other thing we're going to do is select the table, and there's a property called binding in the table, and this exposes the table, the UI component, as a method in this bean. So in my bean package, I'm going to create a new property called, and let's give it something that's meaningful, customer table. And that will now create a method in the backing bean, myClass, allowing me to physically access that UI component. So that's what getCustTable will do. So let's go in and start writing our code. So the first thing I need to do is get a handle to the ADF faces context. So let's import. And ADF faces context equals, and a call to the ADF faces context object dot get current instance, and that just returns a handle or an object for the ADF faces context. On that object, so ADF faces context, we're going to call add partial target, and the parameter here is a UI component, and it happens to be that if we call get cust table, which returns a rich table, and rich table is actually a UI component class or a subclass of UI component. So let's save that, and we can go back to our page and run it. There's our page displaying, and let's select an employee and edit, and again we'll see the declarative PPR working, changing the salary, and total salary automatically changes. But now when I submit, we will see that the table has been refreshed, and you'll see the salary has automatically been updated as well. So with ADF faces, you have the feature of PPR, which allows the partial update and refresh of your UI components, and this can be done declaratively using two properties, auto submit and partial triggers. However, if you need the flexibility to control PPR programmatically, you can do that through the ADF faces context object, and there's a method add partial target. For more information, you can go to the JDeveloper page on OTN. Thank you very much for listening.